welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about something really interesting, extension mix. Regarding extension mix, I plan to tell you everything, from the initial steps to the application using the hair I'm working with. Today, I have a client with very thin hair and extremely fine strands. Based on our previous consultations and her desire to have long, voluminous hair, I made a suggestion for her. The idea was to mix black highlights with natural brown pigments in the extension work. Just as you can see here in the extension mix, we can lengthen the hair and change its texture, meaning we can achieve a uniformly straight look. We can even use wavy hair for the face framing pieces, and in this case we'll probably make the face frame blonde. We'll do an ombre, and all of these are a bunch of techniques that would each require thousands of videos to explain, so that each one can be explained in detail and the methods of execution can be described. But I'll give you an overview of the whole process. The name of the extension is Mix Extension. The one we're working with is done in 2 color tones, so there's actually a color highlight effect as well. Mix extensions are extensions that are multifunctional. As you can see, we add length, increase volume, and create color highlights. We create the light and dark shades they've chosen and change the overall look. At the same time, we cover hair breakage and create a healthy full head of hair. This comes up during the consultation process. We need to determine exactly what the client wants, and for what they want, select the right products for the application stage. We actually need to decide how many and which color pigments to use. In this process, I plan to first explain the style for 1x1 extensions. At the end, based on the similarity we assess, the work style and the type of extension we're using are determined. For 1x1 extensions, the tools are the laser device and keratin adhesives, and the number and type we need to use are just as I explained before in the relevant sections I provided for you. The fewer the hairs, the less dense it will be. Fewer hairs are needed to cover the person's hairline. It's actually the opposite of what most people think. They usually assume that the thicker their hair is, the fewer extensions they need. But it's exactly the opposite. From where your hair ends, the thickness should be equal to and exactly match your own hair. You need to actually start from the point where your hair ends and extend out from your own hair. So the denser your hair is, the more extensions you'll need to cover your hairline. This is about standardization, meaning that we know there is a standard for achieving quality work. Well, this standard is clear. For example, I'm saying that if the hair is thin, we must work with at least 250 strands. If the hair is very thick, we need to work with at least 350 strands. In the topic of bun by bun, however, there's another aspect similar to the client's needs. Sometimes there are clients whose hairline can be fully covered with just 250 strands, meaning we don't need more than 250 hairs. But since they personally prefer very thick hair in similar cases, we might decide to work up to even 4 layers for them. So determining the number of hairs at the beginning should be based on the initial standard of the work, that is, the standard output we want to deliver. We usually always say that a good extension is one that nobody can tell is an extension. In my opinion, this is the best definition you can give for a good extension. Well, of course, the standardization process should be done in such a way that the hairline is not visible and no one can tell that the person's hair is an extension. But another factor that's important in determining the quantity is the client's needs and preferences. The client may want their hair to look fuller, and as long as their hair can handle it, they can go as full as they like. Another aspect is hair health. Sometimes the client's needs and the initial standard call for fewer extensions, but the client's taste and needs require more hair, while their own hair can't handle that amount. I always say hair is like gold when it comes to buying extension hair, which is always purchased by the gram, and it takes years for this hair to grow into lengths of 50, 60 or 70 centimeters. Paying attention to hair health is one of the most important aspects for us. In the next step, we usually determine how to create highlights, color effects, and even light and dark shades. For this, we might add a brown highlight next to natural black and do a blonde face frame with ombre roots. Usually this process is done by separating the hair and creating color effects in the middle using professional coloring techniques on the extension hair. It's very important that when we're creating these halo highlights or ombre techniques, we know how many highlights to add and in what pattern. Look, there are two important points. How many highlights or color effects are we creating and in what rhythm are we installing them? In the simplest case, this is a very detailed topic, but in the simplest case, if you're just starting out or don't have professional consultation or expertise in this area, ask your colorist about the rhythm for installing colored hair. For example, the colorist might say, we're going to use the hidden method, dark hair with light framing. When they explain which sections of the hair to frame, try to estimate how many pieces will be used. Personally, I started out by standardizing the installation patterns for all my clients for 7 or 8 years. If I was doing the hidden style, I had checklists for thin hair, medium hair, and thick hair, and I would stick to those. It becomes a very hands-on process, something you can do with your eyes closed, because the patterns become so precise and consistent that you know exactly how many pieces to use and where to place them. The installation pattern is usually chosen based on that initial assessment and the judgment made by the extension specialist. Based on the assessment, you see I usually divide the head into very few sections at this stage, unless I'm creating a style that requires its own volume, and so that the hair looks fuller and appears styled. That's why, as you can see in the upper section of the hair, I'm working in a semicircular pattern. I'm doing this just to create the volume I want on the head. There are different types of sectioning rhythms. Usually the best types of sectioning are those where, whether it's for blow drying, coloring, or any other beauty service, even when the person wants to wash their own hair and scrub their scalp, the sections are aligned in rows, completely clean and neat. So the best type of sectioning is the wig style sectioning, meaning that, in fact, these are sections that are installed in a semicircular shape with the hair arranged completely round and in alignment. And it's obvious why this type of sectioning is considered the best. Because when you want to blow dry, you usually separate the hair layer by layer, and so it's necessary that the layers should be sectioned so precisely that when they're washing their hair, when they're washing their scalp, their hand can easily go between the rows. This way, they can wash their scalp very thoroughly, ensuring the health of the hair is completely maintained. And when it comes to coloring and highlights, it's also completely clear because the correct rhythm is established. There are ones that are done very neatly and are aligned in continuation with each other, and the distance between each row and the next depends on how thick the person's hair is. The topic of consultation is so extensive that we could talk about it for days, even months, because there are so many techniques and types of consultations. The different types of techniques, clients, and hair make this a very broad topic. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Be sure to leave a comment with any questions you have, because questions help us gain more experience day by day. Does thinking about this work increase our connection? The more it is, the higher the quality of our work will be.